Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mr. Holmes. I'm here to take you through the notes on 3E, which is perfect squares expansion. By the end of this, you should be able to use it to quickly expand and simplify expressions. And so what exactly is the perfect square expression? Well, square comes from the fact that we are squaring something, but we're just taking one set of parentheses and we're squaring that. That's a perfect square expansion. Um, so what does a perfect square expansion look like? Well, it's taking that one set of parentheses and it's multiplying it by itself. That's what this looks like. And then we would use FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, to multiply the terms. And what we end up with are two identical terms in the middle. So we have a squared and b squared, which is the first and the last. But then the outer terms and the inner terms are identical. They're always going to be identical. And so that's the perfect squares expansion. And so when we combine those two, we end up getting a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Right, same deal with a minus b quantity squared. And you might hear me say that quite a bit through this, the a minus b quantity squared. Okay, so a minus b quantity squared is a minus b times a minus b. First, outer, inner, last. So first would be a times a, which is a squared. Last would be b times b, which is b squared. And a negative times a negative is always a positive. So I want you to keep that in mind when you see what's happening next. Okay, so we have minus AB, those are identical. We have plus B squared. So let's just stop for a second here really quick and look at these middle two steps. We have A squared, we have A squared. We have plus B squared, we have plus B squared. And the difference is adding AB and subtracting AB. Where I get that is in the middle of this parenthesis. So a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, so that is the perfect square expression. Okay, and a couple steps will get you there so that you can quickly expand and simplify expressions. Remember, we're in the business of saving some time. Yes, we can use FOIL. No, if we know how to do this, we don't have to. Okay, so step one, we're going to square that first term. Step two, we're going to double the product of the first and last terms, adding or subtracting according to the sign between the terms. And then step three, we're going to add on the square of the last term. This is something that I'm planning on handing out in class, so you don't necessarily have to write the steps out, but I find that it's best if you want to really understand it to write the steps out yourself. So square the first term. We have x plus 5 quantity squared. We're going to square the first term, x squared. We're going to double the product of the first and last terms. Now, in these examples today, we have two terms, and so it'll be the first and the second term. So x times 5 is 5x. So I'm just going to kind of write that down here over in kind of my notes section. So I have 5x. And we're going to double that. Okay, and that's how we're going to end up solving this. So let's write out a couple things. First of all, the sign in between is going to be plus, because I've got a plus sign inside the parentheses, plus, okay, double, so 2 times x times 5. Okay, we'll simplify that in just a second. But then always going to be plus on the end of it, plus 5 squared. I don't care if it's a positive or a negative, it's always going to be plus on the end of it. Let's simplify a couple of these things here really quickly. We have x squared plus 2 times 5 is 10, 10x plus 25. Now, some of you guys may pause the video right here and say, now, exactly how does that save me time? I still have to do this middle step. doesn't really seem like it's saving me that much time. Well, the faster you get at this, the more it's going to save you that time. When I do this, and I do this middle step, I usually leave out this middle step. I'll do x squared. I'll do, in my head, I'll do 5x times 2, which is 10x. And then at the end of it, I'll do plus 25. Don't start off that way. Start off doing it a little bit slower with 2 steps. And as you get better, then you can challenge yourself to do some of these things in your head. So x squared. Okay, x squared. And then we're going to use minus. Why? Because we have a minus sign, so we're just going to bring that straight down. So we're going to have minus. Okay, we're going to double it, so that means 2 times x times 4. Some people will ask, well, why don't you just do -4 there? Well, again, kind of goes back to what your goal is. Your goal is not actually to be writing this second step. Your goal is to be doing some of this in your head. And so keep the end goal in mind. That's what we're trying to do. So 4 squared. Okay. So we're going to have x squared 2 times 4 is 8. So we double the 4 and we make it 8. So we have minus 8x plus 16. So 4 squared plus 16. That'll be our final answer on this one. Okay, let's go on to a slightly more complex example. Example 21. Expand and simplify. Remember, our goal is to be able to use this to quickly expand and simplify expressions. All right, so here we go. We're going to start off with 3x squared. Now for this, I have a coefficient. So I'm going to slow down just a second. I'm going to put that guy inside the parentheses because I don't want to mess anything up. So 3x squared. I've got an addition sign here, so I'm going to put an add sign. So we're going to have plus 2 times 3x times 2 squared. Different 2. This is the 2 right here. Okay. And then we'll have plus. Oh, you guys catch my mistake? Let's get rid of that guy right there. Okay, now we're going to do the 2 squared. Okay, so made a little bit of an error there. Just use that eraser and you're good to go. All right, so it's the product. It's double the product. So double the product of the first and last term. So 2 times 3x times 2. All right, so then we will square both of these. So that's 3 squared x squared. I'm going to have to come down and do one more step. Plus, all right, now 2 times 3 times 2. So we're multiplying all those things together. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Make that a 12. 12x plus 4 plus 2 squared, which is 4 plus 4. Okay. So I wanted to slow down and do this step separately. You do square both of the numbers, variables. You square both of the expressions. And so 3 gets squared, x gets squared. They both get squared. So 3 squared is 9. 9x squared plus 12x plus 12x plus 4. Okay. I'll do this next one without any kind of mistake. We'll see how that goes. All right. So we have 1 and then minus 5x quantity squared. We'll start off with that 1. Now notice on this one, I've swapped the variable and the constant around. So I swapped the linear term and the constant around. All right, so here we go. 1 squared. I have a minus sign here, so that's going to drop straight down. So minus double the product. So 2, product tells me multiply. 2 times 1 times 5x. Ah, didn't make the mistake this time. Ha, some of you guys thought I would. Okay, plus 5x squared. Okay, 5x squared. All right, so 1 squared is just 1 minus 2 times 1 times 5. 2 times 1 times 5. So 2 times 1 is 2, times 5 is 10. So minus 10x. Okay, and then plus, okay, this is going to be that part where, again, I want to learn how to do this quickly. So that 5 is going to get squared. That x is going to get squared. Both will get squared. 5 squared is 25x squared. Now, I'm going to take just a moment and give you a little bit of Math 101 formatting. We always want to have our x terms come first, and we want the x term with the highest exponent to go first. So I'm going to swap these two around. I'm going to swap 25x squared and 1 around, and this is just for formatting. So 25x squared minus 10x plus 1. Okay, so this is just a formatting thing. This is a quadratic. If I was going to factor this back out, this is how I would want to factor it out. So either of these two answers are going to be just fine, with that 1 on the bottom being a little bit cleaner, what I'd want to see if I was in the upper division math. All right, so next one. Expand and simplify. Now notice there's a couple of changes here. First of all, I see this 3x squared. Okay, so it's going to require me to slow down just a little bit. All right, here we go. So 3x squared quantity squared. So we square that first term. Or that sign. So we're going to pull down that minus sign. Minus, in parentheses. Oh, sorry. We're going to double the product. So that means multiply 3x squared. Okay. And then times 1. And then we'll have plus 1 squared. So plus 1 squared. All right. So 3 squared and x squared. So 3x. And we're going to borrow some of the things that we've already learned earlier lessons. So we know that that 3 squared is going to become 9. X squared squared. We're going to add those exponents together. If you don't remember that, go back and look at some of the videos earlier where we talk about that rule. Minus, so 2 times 3 would be 6. Well, times 1, which is going to be 6 as well. So 2 times 3 times 1 is 6. We're going to have our x squared. Leave that alone. And plus 1. So plus 1. All right. So 9x squared. And I want to change that 9 here real quick. Sorry, guys. I'm going to change that to white one. So important if you're going to use color coordination that you're using it well. Okay. All right. So next one, and guys, this one is slightly easier than the last one. So this is the one that I really want you to stop, pause, reflect on, go back and forth on, because we are squaring a squared term, making it a quartic, so a 4 raised to the 4 term. This one's not so bad. This is just here to distract you. We're going to use this last. Remember, in PEMDAS, we're going to do parentheses first. So we're going to take care of this over here, which looks just like example 1. And then we're going to do this. So we're going to leave this alone for right now. 4 minus, okay, square the first term, x squared. Okay, borrow that, what am I trying to say? Borrow that operation, so plus okay, plus double the product, so x and 3, and then add the square of the last term, so 3 squared. Now this is the part where you have to be careful. This is the trick. These still have parentheses on them, okay? So that whole thing is going to be in parentheses. That's important because this minus sign is going to affect it. Okay, so we're going to have 4 minus, all right, x squared. Oh, what did I just get done saying? Got to use that color right. Okay, so x squared, okay, plus 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 6x plus 9, and then we're going to close off that parentheses. Okay, so we're going to be subtracting everything that's in here. So let's see here. Let's just go through and we're going to distribute the negative sign to everything inside. Okay, so 4 minus x squared. Essentially what we're doing is we're changing all the signs inside. So 4 minus x squared minus 6x plus minus 9. Okay. Let's take this first term and the last term and we'll put those guys together. We'll call this it. So 4 minus 9, that's minus 5. Minus 5. And we can do that at the tail end or at the beginning. So let's just take this guy and finish her off. So negative x squared minus 6x and then minus 5. It's minus 5 because 4 minus 9 is negative 5. Okay? All right. Let's just go down a little bit. Oh, don't want to mess things up anymore. Okay. So there's your final answer. And if you guys have questions about that last one, please ask tomorrow. Otherwise, get your answers, your questions together, answer those couple questions, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.